Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I hope I'm audible to everyone.
Yes,
Hello.
sir.
Okay. So we would start our session today. So I would like to welcome you all for today's webinar, which is presented to you by Legal Vidhi. The topic for today's webinar is police encounters, law and society. This topic has been taken into consideration keeping the recent encounter of Vikas Dubey in mind, which took place on 3rd July, and the encounter that took place in Hyderabad related to a rape case of Priyanka, which took place in the month of November 2019. Two different encounters, and people have two different views and their opinions about encounters by police and the police brutality. To speak on this topic today, we have with us Advocate Jayant Bhatt, who is an independent litigator based in New Delhi. He's a member of the Supreme Court Bar Association and the Delhi High Court Bar Association. He also holds dual master degrees from the New York University, USA, and the National University of Singapore. So I hope you guys interact because we would like to have an interactive session with you all. And Mr. Jayan Bhatt would also feel more involved if you guys interact with us. So I would please like to call Mr. Jayan Bhatt to enlighten us over this topic.
Thank you, Utkarsh. Thank you for having me, and I thank you, team, and the audience for sparing the valuable time to be here on the forum. The topic is indeed very interesting. When we talk of police brutality, the first thing which comes to our mind is police with their batons, majorly, hurting people who are by and large innocent. I mean, that's the first, images that surface in our mind. But I think I'll not just touch upon Vikas Dubey's matter. One, because he was named a notorious criminal, but also amongst other incidents which have happened in the past, and people on a day-to-day life, do offer. By police brutality, we must understand that it doesn't only mean beating somebody, black and blue. Brutality, though in the stricter sense, would mean harming somebody and harming somebody's some person and some bodily injury. But brutality comes in lots of forms and sizes. It can also be mental and emotional torture to a litigant who is going to a police station trying to get FIR lodged on whom some crime has been committed. Brutality can also mean police inaction. Brutality can also at times mean police not, despite registering an FIR, not doing a proper investigation. So there are different lapses. What happened in, I think, Vikas Dubey's case was a little different. What we saw was a shoddy job. When the whole media is covering a notorious criminal who is on the run, it's covered by national newspaper, it's covered by international media, it's covered by YouTube channels, social media, everybody. And then if such sort of encounter takes place, it definitely grabs a lot of eyeballs. The other incident, I think, which I just got to know through newspaper and a BBC clip, was that in some village in India, I don't know if it was Orissa or some other state, but two people were being brutally, beaten. I think husband and wife, who were trying to stop police people from their farm. And the video has also gained quite a bit of popularity because they were being dragged throughout the fields. And then eventually, I think one of the family members tried to intervene. He was also beaten and dragged. And one could categorically see in the video that, there were 2 or 3 civilians in the village, or villagers, was to say, or farmers, whatever you want to call them. And they were definitely outnumbered by the police people. At least, I think, 10, 15 to 20 police people were there who were trying to drag them and, trying to push them away. In India, police brutality has always been a mode of judicial contention. Also, many cases have been brought before the court. And I think we all know about the Prakash Singh judgment rendered by Honorable Supreme Court of India in 2006, whereby Supreme Court categorically said that not only do we need to uphold human rights of people in general, but we also need to keep in mind that we have to have a commission or an inquiry committee which will look into this. And for that, I think the Supreme Court had suggested a police complaints authority, which unfortunately, according to me, is only available or operational is in 4 to 5 states across the country. And that's a very sorry situation, In Delhi, you have one PCA. I think Maharashtra has one and few other states. But they are as good as, not very robust or not very functional. And that can cause some sort of, I would say, a rift of confidence between public at large and what policies ought to be. Because if a person is subjected to police brutality, either in the open or within the premises or confines of the police station or police campus, then what is the recourse that person has? Obviously, courts are always there, to function and open and answer these questions. But having said that, the other recourse is to go and file a proper complaint with the PCA. But you must bear this in mind that in a PCA or a police complaint authority, no lawyer is permitted. No lawyer is permitted to argue the case or defend their client. By and large, a retired police officer, a senior police officer, or a retired judge, it's a quasi tribunal, it's a quasi judicial body, preside over the matter. And most of the time, it's seen, that they would favorably, decide or tilt their judgment in the favor of, their own headmas or police people. And that can be really discouraging for somebody who is looking for justice. So how do we go about this? Just to quickly give you a basic illustration, I had this client, a few years ago who was subjected to police brutality. First, a ruckus happened in his locality because of car parking, and his car was towed by the police. And when he went to the concerned police station and asked for the keychain, he was slapped and he was beaten and he was manhandled by police people within the local police thana. Now you have to realize as a civilian, when you are visiting a police station, you are not armed. You don't have any firearms with you. You don't have any deadly weapons with you. You are going to just lodge a complaint. So the force which a police person inflicts on you, if it doesn't match the force, or not even the force, or on a civilian, that tantamounts to police brutality. So if I am a civilian, if today I go to police station and the police person starts charging me with this baton or with a firearm or with the butt of a handgun or a pistol, that's brutality 101. And these are the type of questions that we have been increasingly and unfortunately seeing in this country. One, it was Jairaj and Phoenix latest case. Then it was Vikas Dubey or Vikas Pandit alias, as he had his encounter, and now this incident of these farmers getting brutalized. And these are some of the incidents which have been now reported and widely circulated on social media, and that's why we have this information. Imagine how many cases are happening which are not even informed. How many cases are happening which you and I don't know about, which go unreported. What do we do about those cases? We don't have any data to tally them. We have basic data about NHRC, which is outdated by 2-3 years. One data says that 2016-17 survey says at least 1,600 police brutality cases have happened, either in the cases in which a person was, beaten mercilessly, or in some cases where suicide happened within police custody, when the person was kept within the police premises. So all these things are happening. I think as a country, as responsible citizens of the of this nation, and as lawyers, we have to find answers as to what can be the best solution. And I hope with today's webinar, we can come out with some solutions with a brainstorming session. The audience is here. I must request my audience, as I usually do at the start of any webinar, that please put in your questions in your chat box. If Utkarsh, you want to moderate it, you can moderate it. If you want to unmute your audience, feel free to unmute them. They can ask me question one by one, but there are times when the internet connections, may be not very firm. So that I leave up to your choice. But I would request the audience to whatever questions you have regarding police brutality, police action or inaction, the judicial accountability of the same, how should we go about it? And with Utkarsh, I think I'll hand over the dais back to you. You can start asking me questions and I'll be happy to answer them.
Right, sir. So we can go about students can write their questions over the chat box, and then we could take every question one by one.
That's fine. I think one of your students have said, please unmute us. You can unmute them. They can ask questions. That's fine.
Everyone can unmute themselves, I guess. We have not done anything from our side. Let me check. Right, you can unmute yourself. It's possible.
Hello. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are audible.
Yeah. So sir, you told us about the recent cases that have been taken place regarding encounter and regarding police brutality. So my question is very fundamental. What are the laws pertaining to Encounter India? At this one, question number one. And question number two is, what is the investigation procedure by police in these encounter matters?
Look, the investigating procedures are already laid down in CRPC. Then that applies to police.
Investigation procedure by CBI.
The same thing, you have to abide by CRPC. CBI is just one of the investigating authority, whether it is NIA, CBI, local police. You cannot usurp the procedures which have been laid down in the country. They don't have a special manual to, investigate. And you must also understand that CBI also comprises of people either within CBI or who go in deputation in CBI. There are people like you and I. If I'm an IPS officer today, or if I'm a police person today, I may go into CBI for deputation. So there are no special people. Just because we say the name CBI doesn't mean that that you have to be unnecessarily scared, or you think that a guarantee sort of would come. There are as normal people like you and I. But yes, over the years, CBI has gained a special status because of the specialist crime that they look into. But there's no special procedure. Every everybody is bound by Police Act and CRPC and other manuals. That is number one. Number two, do we have any encounters law in the country? No, we do not have any encounters law in the country, and that's why I mentioned the judgment of Prakash Singh right at the outset. Please go through and read it. I'll give you a citation. It's 2006-8 SCC, page number 1. So please read the judgment. It's an exhaustive judgment by the Honorable Supreme Court, which lays down why do we need a law regarding encounters or human right protection, and how things should be done in this country. So read up that judgment. I think that should answer some of the questions that you have brewing in your mind.
Oh, all right. A great answer. You have answered my query to a large extent, but just one follow-up question. Can you, if possible, can you please tell us the step-by-step investigation procedure by CBI in fake encounter matters?
Look, there are two very different things. You have to understand what you call a fake encounter, and then you have to understand if CBI is looking into it or a local police is looking into it. For example, one much realized or hyped case these days in the country is Sushant Singh Rajput's death. And some people are saying put a CBI inquiry in it, and Maharashtra police is saying we are doing a good job. So let's not confuse the issue. Today's topic is about encounters. So let's not drag it to whether CBI can look into it or local police can look into it, or who's causing a fake encounter. It can be anybody. It can be your NIA, it can be your CBI, it can be your local police. Fake encounter means fake encounter by agency which is answerable to the people at large, which is run under the supervision of the government. And that has to be understood.
All right, sir. Thank you for the answer.
So the next question we have from Kratanshi Srivastava. The question from her is, what measures can the state take to prevent the encounters?
Right. Look, let's understand what an encounter is. In Vikas Dubey case, the whole uproar, was that an encounter has taken place. In Jairaj and Phoenix case, it was a matter of police brutality. So there are two different things. Is police brutality the same as police encounter? No, they are two different things. Because in police brutality, the excess of power is there. You are exercising excessive power on a particular person who is not even laced with any arms. So that is police brutality. What is of encounter? Now, encounter is by and large is a position in which the police says that we fired at somebody in self-defense, and self-defense is a recognized defense under the law. It says if somebody is pointing an arm at you, and to defend yourself, if you attack or counter-attack at them, and that is fine. So encounter as such is a subset of self-defense mechanism. What had happened or what transpired in Vikas Dubey's case, because I don't watch too much of news, but I read newspapers and I see sometimes YouTube also. I think the timeline which it says is, yes, he had a 20-year-old history. There were multiple cases. Some newspapers said, I think 60 plus cases which were pending against him over the years. And then in the meantime, when he was apprehended or when he surrendered from in Madhya Pradesh or Jain, he was being brought in a police cavalry. And once they crossed the UP border, one of the car overturned. Once the car overturned, he took charge of one of the firearms of one of the police person who was accompanying him in the vehicle. He started to, make an escape. And because he was trying to make an escape, few police people ran after him. He started, shooting at them. And in retaliation, the police shot him. And as a result, he died in the incident. That's the narrative of, what has been doing circulation in the media reports. Now, understand this. If the police version is to be understood, then it was a simplicity encounter because they only fired in self-defense, and there was a person with a criminal track record and criminal history with multiple cases pending against him. That is number one. The flip side of the story is the police story believable? Because if I say that at least 5, 10, I don't know how many vehicles were, but at least were accompanying him, he was, not handcuffed. He was took place, what were the other vehicles doing? Why did they make him run away? They could have shot him at his leg. There were so many police officers. So sometimes the story also becomes unbelievable. The flip side is the police version of the police story would be, you have never served in the police. How can you say that? Now it's easier said than done, because once you're having a debate, you try to sometimes frame the picture, or you put the picture, according to what your mind thinks is right. But the way the law works, the way the court works, it works on robust common sense. We cannot throw common sense out of the window, especially as a criminal lawyer. I'm telling you, you have to envisage the picture and envisage the narrative which has taken place. So when I ask myself, was this an encounter? In all probability, it was. Was it a botched up encounter? I think the answer is an affirmative in my mind. Yes, it was quite botched up. I think the police could have been really smart about it. Why and where it stemmed from? It stemmed from 8 police people being brutally murdered by the faction of his gang. That is what triggered this. Now, few questions I think that people need to ask. Was it the first time that so many police people have been killed in these 20 years because of an activity by Vikas Dubey or Vikas Pandit? That's something that has to be ascertained, because nobody has said any answer on that. 8 people getting murdered from a police force is a big botch up. It came into limelight, all the media covered it, and that's why police had to retaliate. But that retaliation does not mean that you will take the law into your own hands. And I'm not defending a criminal here. I'm just saying, when the people are watching you, especially when you are the police, and when 8 police people went to either arrest him or to encounter him, who were unfortunately killed, in the service of the nation, then you have to realize that police acts on intelligence. Police intelligence is much higher than a civilian's intelligence. They are trapping phones. They are looking after everybody's GPS. They know who is moving whom. Privacy laws, can be compromised when a police is investigating into a matter or looking into a person of interest. So all those things are there, and we have to realize that whether an encounter is genuine or whether an encounter is not genuine then becomes a matter of judicial probe. And that's why even before an encounter happens, if it's a genuine encounter, I think the inquiry might take place by some committee which is judicially appointed, and the matter will come to a close. But in case the court finds, or in case the committee finds that there has been a botch up, or there has been instances which does not, sound to a logical mind as a proper self-defense, then those police persons can also be suspended, and a separate FIR can be also lodged against them for a simplicity of cold-blooded murder.
Now I would like Aska M. Nadeem to ask a question. Aska Nadeem, if you can unmute your mic and ask the question.
Yes, please. Hello, sir.
Yes, madam.
My question is that if we had a case of police brutality, how can we complain against the police? If, for example, if I go to police station, if I face any sort of circumstances where I can complain against it, is there any? How can I complain against a police station and a police? So,
that's a very good question. Let me give you an example of which just happened, and I think also posted about it on LinkedIn a few days ago. One of the drivers from my neighborhood was picked, and was picked only because he was recording the video of a police vehicle who was unnecessarily issuing challans, in the colony, because somebody, I think some resident welfare association had complained that cars are parked on the, and they're blocking the passage. And unfortunately, that's the reality in which we live in. Every society is now full of cars which are parked on the road, and you can't do much about it. But I think the driver's car was parked at his house. The driver was there accompanying the vehicle, but despite which, while he was recording the video, he was picked by the police people. And because I'm a lawyer, and to answer your question, I went to the police station and I asked them a few questions on whose authority did you pick him up? What are the charges against him? Have you lodged any formal complaint against him? How is he being detained? If he is not being detained on any with any proper cause, you have to release him. Now, if you know somebody, if your friends, relatives, family, or anybody that you know has been picked by police or has been detained by police, you can definitely dial 100 number as a matter of defense, because police needs to act. Police can also act against police. You have to understand that. Plus, you have to think how you will argue your case in a court of law. If you have a 100 number call, then you have a log report with you saying, I dialed 100 number, but the police did not act. Police will then be on the backseat saying, you know your legal rights, you know how to act. If you go to the police station, the problem is most of the time they have their high-headedness. They think they are above the law. That is the normal narrative and normal experience that a common citizen of this country faces when you go to a police thana. Because one, police people will, I'm not saying all of them are rude, but some of them are really rude to you. They would not answer your questions with a straight manner. They would not even lodge a complaint. Let's say you go and they don't lodge a complaint. First thing first, call 100 number, a PCR van will come. Then try to find the DCP or the ACP of the area, call them. If nothing works, please contact a local lawyer, especially a criminal lawyer, who knows the ropes of the profession, who will help you with your defenses and checks and balances, and can, attack these illegal detention, these unlawful detention of the police. Because then, if the need be, you can always go to a magistrate if a person has been detained for more than 24 hours, which is definitely not allowed as per Article 22 of the Constitution, and the law that has been laid down in Prakash Singh also, that you have to produce somebody within 24 hours of the arrest to a local magistrate. So you can definitely, the lawyer concerned can go to the magistrate and say, look, sir, somebody from your area, from your jurisdiction, in which your police station west has picked somebody up, and they cannot pick that person up. The effective inquiry should take place. So the moment you know that you know the law, the moment you know that you know your rights, police will be backstepping a little bit, because they just cannot use third degree on you. They just cannot use their high-headedness on you, because the law, what applies to me, it equally applies to you, to the police and to a civilian. There are no differences in the law. A murder is a murder. A brutality is a brutality.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
So just a follow-up question on this from my side. If I live in a particular locality, and if the police station in that jurisdiction does brutality with me, there's some brutality with me, so where would I go to file my complaint, the FIR? Because where the crime takes place, the jurisdiction, the complaint has to be filed over there only. But in that jurisdiction only, I face the police brutality. So where would I go for the FIR?
Look, sir, if you, God forbid, if you get brutalized, or if they hurt you and there are physical injuries, the first thing that you ought to do is go to a hospital and get a medical examination done. That will become your proof to prove that police has, charged you, or had a physical assault on you. That is number one. Number two, put a formal complaint in that thana, because it was a thana which did not take place. You can always speed post a particular complaint or courier a particular complaint, because then you don't have to go personally. That's a matter of common sense. The other thing, please put a follow-up complaint to the DCP. Even if that doesn't happen, you can always file a writ in a particular high court against a police station or police people, saying that, look, my complaint was not taken seriously. I went and I was brutalized. Please, save me and safeguard my right, or give them some instructions. That can always happen.
Right. Thank you. Now I would like to ask Mr. Diwakar Singh to raise his question. Diwakar Singh. I guess he's not.
In the meantime, can I ask something?
Yeah.
So, sir,
Yeah, sure.
in the investigation process, how can a lawyer ensure that a free and fair investigation has been done by police? Like, what are the documents he can demand?
You can't demand a document when an investigation is taking place, but you can ensure that a fair investigation takes place by going to a writ. That's what I said. You have to ensure a judicial probe or a judicial monitoring is happening. Sometimes when you think that the police is going to, go its own way and might compromise the matter, take them under the court vigilance. That's the best thing to do.
All right, sir. Though it answered the query, but can you tell us the mechanism of how court keeps a vigilance on police?
By giving an order. If you file a writ petition, the order will be there, and you will have a copy of that order.
That's all. Then how will it be prevented if police compromise with evidences or forged documents, and how that thing is prevented?
See, by and large, if the court has ordered, the police will not go against the court order. That hardly happens in this country. That's why people still believe in the court system.
All right, sir. Understood. Thank you so much.
Ms. Taha bin Tasneem, you can raise your question.
Good evening, sir. Sir, my question was that there has been much public discourse on the topic of police reforms. So I wanted to know your opinion on it. And much has been said that there has to be a systemic reform, a complete restructure of the police system. So if there has to be such a reform, how will it come about? Thank you, sir.
Look, I'll try to answer it in as logical manner as possible. 2-3 things have to happen. When we talk of police reforms, We also need judicial reforms and police reforms to go hand in hand. Many a times, even when I get to speak to a lot of police people, I understand their plight. The plight is that sometimes, they don't have requisite, people to man a police station, because most of them are in a VIP security or giving, protection to VIPs. And by VIPs, I mean MLAs and MPs and
Yes,
other
sir.
people. Now, the question that begs our attention is, do VIPs need so much of attention? I'll give you another example. So when, at least in Delhi, the current chief minister said, I don't want a police protection when he had initially come to power, and he would, just go in his Wagoner at the time when he used to have Wagoner. And that, I think, was a very good example for a chief minister of a state to put before the country. If that model can be replicated by people, and I'm not saying that they don't need any security at all, but they don't need 100 people to man them. If 20 security guards suffice the purpose of security, then you don't need 100 people to guard you. So more than police reforms, police also needs funding, and the funding has to come from the government.
Yes,
Judiciary
sir.
also needs funding, more courtroom that has to come from the government. So we have to really focus these areas where people like you and I, people who are civilians, people who are fighting for civil rights, have to be, it has to ensure that these things fall on track. So funding is, I think, one thing. The Z security or the Z plus security, which is going to so many people, should be lessened. It should go to the police station where, when you dial 100 number, a police vehicle can reach you on time, rather than securing a VIP who is already living in a gated community and he already has, robust security with him or her. So I think
Yes,
that whole VIP culture has to go away. Until that time we'll have a VIP culture, any reform will not happen. So whether a local police is looking into a matter, or CBI is looking into a matter, or NIA is looking into a matter, I think police also need to be made independent, and I think that is very important. Till the time you are under uh, some subordination, and I'm not saying a free hand will increase brutality, that will become a matter of debate. But if you speak to a lot of police people, you'll realize that they have a hierarchy. If in a police station you have a head constable, you have an inspector, then you have the SHO, and then you have the DCP, ACP, or IG or DIG, depending. So there is a
yes, sir.
hierarchy. They have to follow hierarchy, and then they have to report to there's ministers, or they are concerned politicians under whom they are discharging their duties. So that hierarchy has to become very transparent. One has to ensure that we are doing this for the betterment and for the larger good of people. If it becomes a Gunda Raj, and by Gunda Raj I mean if only everybody has to flex a muscle by saying we are VIP and we deserve attention more than a civilian does, and a civilian can be beaten black and blue, but not the other person, then it's a matter of great public debate and discourse. And this has to be addressed sooner than later, in my opinion.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. That was very enlightening.
Mr. Aman Kumar Singh, you can raise your question now.
Hello, sir. Good evening. Yeah. Hello, sir. Good evening. Aman Singh this side. So I have a very general and practical question. Sir, we have read from our first year of law that there is separation of power. The three organs of the government, that is executive, judiciary, and legislature, is differentiated, and no one can interfere in each other's matter. So, but leaving the bookish language and coming to the practical world, we can see that with the current circumstances, that there is a complete interference of the legislature, the politicians, into the judiciary, and the murder of judiciary and the laws are going on till now. With respect to the Vikas Dubey's case, we know, or somehow we can't 100% surely say, but somehow everyone does know there is some sort of uh, interference by the politicians or anyone in these sort of cases, and the murder of judiciary is going on and on and on. But we, the youth of the nation, and we are studying law these days, how we can cope up with this situation so that we could provide a good future, or a enlightening future to our juniors too, and for our country too. Thank you, sir.
Look, the first step you have all conquered by having these webinars and exchanging ideas on a platform. Number two, you have to be a little bit more practical. You can always file a PIL in the Supreme Court of India and agitate these points backed with a very, very good research, and research not just which is India based, but which is based on other countries and any other police brutality or any encounter that you see. Because every time you go to a court like Supreme Court of India, if your PIL is robust, if it's substantial, if it raises the right questions of law, the court will look into it. What has happened in Vikas Dubey's encounter, I would not say the murder of judiciary. Look, you have to understand. A criminal running amok for 20 years with multiple cases against him is not doing it with the help of judiciary alone. You know, police is the first pit stop. The FIR gets lodged at a police station. It doesn't get lodged at a court. The investigation has to be done by the police officers. The investigation doesn't take place by the court. Court only decides on the merit of a matter in a criminal trial once the FIR accompanied by a charge sheet is then filed for the trial to commence. If the police is not doing its job properly, if they're not doing, if they're not filing the right charge sheet, if they're not compiling the list of witnesses, if they're not doing their forensic analysis properly, then the trial is supposed to fall flat. So police needs to put its, shop into order. You know, their actions need to be held accountable for. The charge sheet and the police and the police training has to be better. You know, sometimes I've seen cases even at Supreme Court level that have appeared. From 14 to 19, I used to appear for the state of Rajasthan, and some of the murder matters that I contested on behalf of the state, assuming the role of a prosecutor, so as to say, I would see that sometime in a murder matter, a very lame investigation would have happened. For example, they would say a person has been murdered, blood was filed on the soil. They took the soil to get the blood sample collected, but they did not match it with the blood sample of the blood which was on the accused shirt or cloth or on any other blood sample. So if you do not join the dots, if you are not trained properly to carry on an investigation, if you are going to contaminate a crime scene, how are these things going to happen or help? So police reforms are a must. Police cannot hide under the garb of a shoddy investigation. They have to ensure that the whole nation is looking at them, and day and large, when we have more and more scrutiny in terms of social media, law students like you who are much more aware about their rights, I think things will change, but you collectively need to raise your voice, and perhaps go to Supreme Court of India with a PIL saying, look, sir, your 2006 Prakash Singh order was there, despite which no encounter law, no police brutality law in the country has been drafted by the government. So either the court can say put it in a time barred manner, but how much can the court do? So you will have to not only look at police reforms, you will also have to look at legislative reforms, by which laws can be, important laws can be churned out faster. And that's very important. For example, since the time COVID-19 has happened, I don't think the parliament is working or the state legislatures are working. But if all of us can today, with Google Meets or Microsoft Teams or Zoom or Geo Meet, whatever it has come, if we can utilize this online platform to exchange ideas, and government is doing it, a lot of ministers are doing it, a lot of bureaucrats are conducting their offices through online meetings. Why can't we pass laws through an online platform? What is stopping us today to use the technology to make things faster? Are we again going to live in the garb of a slow tactical mindset of a slow legislature, then a slow policing, then a slow judiciary? I think the time has come, and unfortunately because of COVID-19, and fortunately also because of COVID-19 that we have gotten this opportunity, time has come that we all need to, join our forces together and ensure that through this technology, things can move at a faster pace. Today, if I don't have to personally go to police station, why can't a police station have a computer where I can just dial in through a Zoom meeting and lodge my complaint online? I can simply send an email, and the SHO, without any apprehension of having a COVID virus being transmitted to them in their police station, can speak to me virtually. Courts are happening virtually. Why can't police stations work virtually? That will, lessen the amount of burden, and it will increase the amount of efficacy in a police mahkama. So that's, I think, is very important.
So with your permission, a small follow-up. Am I allowed, sir?
Haji.
Sir, as you said that join the dots or do the proper investigation, or you said that you raise the voice in front of the people. But as going with the current scenario, we can see that there are big chances. I can say that sadly that out of 100%, it is 90% chances are there I may be lynched or be called anti-nationalist if I go against them.
Look, sir, that's a very weird debate. I'm not going on national and anti-national. If you are protecting your right and the right of your countrymen, that is as nationalistic as saying Jai Mata Ji. सीधी सी बात है कि भारत माता की जय, जय माता दी, उसमें क्या फर्क है? अगर आप देश को सुधारना चाहते हैं तो आप एंटी नेशनल कैसे हो सकते हैं? सोचने की बात है. अगर आप पुलिस रिफॉर्म्स करना चाहते हैं तो आप एंटी नेशनल कैसे हो सकते हैं? अगर आप जुडिशियल रिफॉर्म्स करना चाहते हैं तो इंटरनेशनल कैसे हो सकते हैं? ठीक है, सब चीजों के लिए कमेटी बैठे, there must be debate, there must be deliberation, and I'm all for intellectual exchange of ideas done peacefully. When Gandhi himself being a lawyer fought for independence, he did it in a non-violent manner, and we got independence. So did Nelson Mandela in his country. We have had leaders who have been lawyers. We have had leaders who have championed the right of people. And yes, you are right. अगर आपको लिंचिंग से डर लगता है तो मैं कह रहा हूँ पुलिस स्टेशन में कंप्यूटर रखवाइए ना. टैक्स पेयर के पैसे से हम कंप्यूटर क्यों नहीं रखवा सकते पुलिस स्टेशन में ढंग से काम करे? एक क्या, मैं कहता हूँ 10 कंप्यूटर रखवाइए वहां पे, जहाँ पे 10 लोग बैठ के कम से कम जनता की कंप्लेंट और चीजों को सुन सके. टुडे आई टेल यू 100 नंबर इज द मोस्ट अब्यूज नंबर. अगर गर्लफ्रेंड बॉयफ्रेंड की भी फाइट हो जाती है तो लोग 100 नंबर कॉल कर देते हैं कि सर मेरी गर्लफ्रेंड मुझे गाली दे रही है, मेरा बॉयफ्रेंड मुझे छोड़ के जा रहा है. यहाँ तक की चीजें होती हैं. यू मस्ट नो दैट. सो टू अवॉइड दीज थिंग्स, आप सोचिए पुलिस का जो टाइम लगता है, एक पीसीआर वैन अगर 100 नंबर कॉल रिसीव करती है, फॉर दैट वैन टू कम इनटू एक्शन दे हैव टू गो इन. बड़ी पतली पतली गलियां भी होती हैं, तंग गलियां भी होती हैं, सारे अपार्टमेंट्स और फैंसी हाउसेस तो नहीं होते जहां से कंप्लेंट्स आती हैं. सो पुलिस हैज टू मनूवर थ्रू ऑल दैट. तो थोड़ा सा पुलिस के बारे में भी सोचना जरूरी है कि हम उनकी जिंदगी कैसे आसान कर सकते हैं. सो फॉर दैट टू हैपन, अगर 10 कंप्यूटर थाने में लग जाते हैं और 100 नंबर पे कॉल आती है, unless it's a heinous offense of murder or any brutality or any rape or any kidnapping, जहाँ पुलिस का जाके तफ्तीश करना जरूरी है, 100 नंबर कॉल्स कैन बी डाइवर्टेड टू अ Zoom प्लेटफॉर्म और गूगल मीट प्लेटफॉर्म, जहाँ पे थाने में बैठ के बंदा सीधे सीधे बात कर लीजिए. आपने 100 नंबर बनाया था, क्या बात है, बताइए क्या शिकायत है आपकी. तो यू विल हैव अ वीडियो प्रूफ of your complaint going through to a police station, and you can also record it in your computer. तो चीजों के बहुत प्लस हैं. अगर हम पॉजिटिव तरीके से देखते हैं तो वी कैन फाइंड अ सोल्यूशन. But if we want to find a negative or a negative thought into everything, then we'll never progress as a country.
Thank you so much, sir. Much clear. Thank you.
Right, sir. Medha Priya, you can raise your question. Medha Priya.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon. Sir, my question is like India hasn't yet ratified UN Convention against Torture, that is UNCAT. So, what's your take, sir? Is this laxity on the part of the government, or there is other reason behind this that is positive?
I'll tell you
Just
three things.
1 minute, if I could interrupt you. One member is saying that kindly if you could explain in Hindi, it would be helpful.
हिंदी में समझा लेंगे, कोई परेशानी नहीं है. आपने मुझसे सवाल किया मैडम कि यूएन कन्वेंशन को रेटिफाई क्यों नहीं किया. जो यूएन कन्वेंशन में रेटिफाई किए हैं क्या उनमें हरकत हो रही है? पहला सवाल तो मेरा आपसे ही है. वो नहीं होती. इंटरनेशनल लॉ थोड़ा सा एक वीक लॉ है, इस चीज को हमें समझना होगा. हम जितना हल्ला मचा लें, हर देश अपनी सोवरेनिटी को सबसे ऊपर मानता है और कहता है रेटिफाई कर भी दिया. अगर आप किसी थाने चले जाएं, मैं दिल्ली के थानों की बात नहीं कर रहा, मैं लोकल थानों की बात कर रहा हूँ, उसमें अगर आप चले जाएं तो लोग बोलेंगे भाई ये जो यूएन की चीज है ना, वो यूएन जाके समझाना. ये तो बहुत दूर की बात हो गई. अगर आप सुप्रीम कोर्ट का नाम लेते हैं और आप एक मुफस्सिल कोर्ट के दायरे में खड़े हैं, थाने या कचहरी में खड़े हैं, तो कहेंगे ऐसा करो भाई सुप्रीम कोर्ट जाके बहस कर लो, हमारे पास रपट बात भी लिखा देना. तो ये जो चीजें हैं अपनी जगह ठीक है, इंडिया को रेटिफाई करना चाहिए इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे. आई एम नॉट अगेंस्ट रेटिफाइंग एनीथिंग व्हिच कैन डू गुड टू द कंट्री, बिकॉज उससे थोड़ा सा एक इंटरनेशनल प्रेशर बिल्डअप हो जाता है व्हेन यू रेटिफाई यूएन ट्रीटी, बिकॉज इंडिया इज अ सिग्नेटरी टू यूएन. तो उस रेटिफिकेशन से ये होता है कि देन द गवर्नमेंट कम्स इनटू सम सॉर्ट ऑफ टैक्टिकल प्रेशर इंटरनेशनली कि अब हमने रेटिफाई कर दिया है तो कुछ लोकल लॉज भी ऐड कर दें इस पे. तो उतनी बात तक मैं आपसे सहमत हूँ कि सरकार को करना चाहिए, पर सरकार को इसके अलावा जो अपनी निजी चीजें हैं, जो अपनी इंटरनल पॉलिसिंग के मुद्दे हैं, उसको भी तो देखना चाहिए. उसको अगर हम नजरअंदाज कर देंगे, हम पुलिस रिफॉर्म्स नहीं लाएंगे, हम पुलिस सेंसिटाइजेशन नहीं लाएंगे, हम अगर संवेदनशीलता नहीं ला सकते पुलिस के कार्य में, तो कैसे करेंगे? क्या सबको 3rd डिग्री देके जवाब निकलते हैं? क्या डंडे मार के या गोलियां मार के या किसी को लटका के थाने में हमें जवाब मिलते हैं? ठीक है, कुछ कुख्यात अपराधी जिनके साथ हो सकता है कि वैसा व्यवहार ठीक हो, पर क्या सारे के सारा देश अपराधियों से भरा हुआ है? क्या एक सिविलियन भी अपराधी की कैटेगरी में आता है? तो ये चीजों को हमें समझने की जरूरत है. पुलिस मैपिंग ड्रॉ करे. आजकल तो टेक्नोलॉजी हमारे साथ है, सब कुछ है. रेटिफाई करे कन्वेंशन को. और बाय मैपिंग आई मीन कि मान लीजिए जब आप गाड़ी चलाती हैं, आप अपना गूगल मैप खोलती हैं, तो आप कहती हैं मुझे एक डेस्टिनेशन में पहुंचना है. तो जब गूगल मैप आपके लिए मैप कर सकता है अपनी सैटेलाइट से कि ट्रैफिक कितना है रास्ते में, तो पुलिस ये मैप क्यों नहीं कर सकती कि एक एरिया में कितना क्राइम है? अगर मैं दिल्ली में रहता हूँ तो दिल्ली के सारे इलाकों में क्राइम नहीं होगा, पर कुछ पॉकेट्स होंगे जहाँ पे क्रिमिनल ज्यादा एक्टिव होते हैं. तो ये मैपिंग करके एक डेटा क्यों नहीं क्रिएट करते जो कि सिटीजन्स के लिए भी कारगर हो और पुलिस के भी काम में है?
Yes, sir. Definitely, I come to your point. Thank you, sir.
I had one question, a very simple one. Sir, in most of the criminal cases, we have seen that uh, judicial proceedings are mostly based on eyewitness and motive, and the critical forensic techniques like nature of injury, ballistics, spot of death, and DNA tests. Those are not used. So why so, and how can we bridge this gap?
सर ये हो रही चीजें, मैंने कहा हो रही है, लेकिन पुलिस को और ट्रेनिंग की जरूरत है. पुलिस नीड्स टू बी ट्रेन्ड. All those things are already happen on the ground, but not with the same finesse that they happen abroad in more developed society. वहाँ पे प्रॉपर बकायदा टीम होती है. यहाँ पर तो पुलिस वाले जाते हैं तो दस्ताने ही नहीं पहनते, हैंड ग्लव्स ही नहीं होते हैं, वो अपने ही छू के फिंगरप्रिंट लगा देते हैं चीजों में. तो उतनी इन्वेस्टिगेशन बहुत हो जाती है, तो कैसे काम होगा? तो इसके लिए पुलिस ट्रेनिंग की जरूरत है. और ये काम पुलिसिंग का है कि जो भी सीनियर अफसर हैं जो अपने जूनियर्स को वहाँ पे ट्रेन करते हैं, जो पुलिस अकेडमीज बनी है उनमें ये सब चीजें सिखाई जाए, ऑन ग्राउंड ट्रेनिंग दी जाए लोगों को, ताकि चीजें आगे बढ़ सके.
But sir, if solution is this basic, that if only training is needed, if only finance is needed, then why it hasn't been done yet? I think the problem is much more intricate. Don't you think so? Can we dig up?
ये सवाल आपको सरकार से करना चाहिए, क्योंकि इस सवाल का जवाब मैं बतौर वकील आपको नहीं दे सकता, क्योंकि जो फंडिंग है सरकार की वो सरकार जानती
है. Is this problem restricted to only funding?
आप आरटीआई डालिए, आपको पता चलेंगी. आरटीआई की राइट है आपके पास, आप सरकार से पहल कीजिए, सवाल पूछिए, पर आपके सवाल शायद ही होने चाहिए, तभी आपको जवाब मिलेंगे. उससे थोड़ी सी मैं समझता हूँ कि अभी आपको रिसर्च करने की जरूरत है.
All right, understood. Another one follow-up question on this only. Can you please tell me the legal and constitutional grounds of CBI investigation? So when a case is transferred from police to CBI, what are the legal and constitutional grounds on which court do it?
सर लीगल ग्राउंड कुछ नहीं है. जब लोगों को लगता है कि स्टेट पुलिस अपना काम ढंग से नहीं कर रही है तो लोग सीबीआई के लिए चले जाते हैं. मैं आपको अपने एक केस का उदाहरण देता हूँ. दिल्ली में एक मर्डर केस हुआ डॉक्टर साहब का, और जो दूसरे डॉक्टर साहब जो लापता थे, जो अंडरग्राउंड थे, उनके पेरेंट्स मेरे क्लाइंट्स थे. तो वो आए और बहुत हल्ला मचा इस केस में, क्योंकि दोनों यंग डॉक्टर थे. अब क्या एंगल था, आई डोंट नो, कि वो वर दे लवर्स और वाज देयर अ थर्ड पार्टी इन्वॉल्व्ड या विसल ब्लोअर का केस था, उसमें बहुत सारे सस्पिशंस आए. So the deceased family then eventually went to Supreme Court saying that the case must be shifted from Delhi Police to CBI. इसको मैंने अपोज किया. जब मैं वहां पे पहुंचा सुप्रीम कोर्ट में, 4-5 साल केस को हो गए, तो दिल्ली पुलिस ने अपना भी पक्ष रखा, और मैं बतौर प्राइवेट पार्टी जो मैं डिफेंड कर रहा था कि माय क्लाइंट्स हैव ऑलरेडी हर तरीके से उन्होंने जो दिल्ली पुलिस के साथ कोऑपरेट किया है, जहां जहां जाना था इन्वेस्टिगेशन में गए हैं, सब चीजें दी हैं. तो अब सीबीआई क्या अलग करेगा? और यही पक्ष दिल्ली पुलिस ने, कि जस्टिस मिश्रा उस टाइम प्रिसाइड कर रहे थे सुप्रीम कोर्ट में, उन्होंने भी बोला, और ये बात सुन के, कि जब ये सब हो ही रहा है तो सीबीआई को केस क्यों ट्रांसफर किया जाए, और ये कह के इस केस को रद्द कर दिया गया था. तो ऐसा नहीं कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट भी सारे केस एक लोकल पुलिस उठा के सीबीआई को दे देता है. इसकी कोई कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनैलिटी नहीं होती है. पुलिसिंग की बात आ जाती है कि क्या लोकल पुलिस, ऐसा तो नहीं है कि अगर कोई बहुत बड़ा केस है, तो मैं आपको मर्डर केस की बात बता रहा हूँ, पर अगर एक बहुत बड़ा केस है विच इज पॉलिटिकली मोटिवेटेड, तो क्या उस सिलसिले में अगर ऐसा लगता है किसी पार्टी को कि वहां की जो लोकल गवर्नमेंट है, जो गवर्नमेंट है, अगर वो लोकल पुलिस पे अपना फोर्स एक्सरसाइज कर रही है, तो हो सकता है कि एक फेयर एंड इन्वेस्टिगेशन ना हो पाए, तो उस चक्कर में चीजें फिर सीबीआई को थमाई जाती हैं. वो भी अपोज की जा सकती हैं. दिस में बी ऑलवेज चैलेंज इन अ कोर्ट बाय एनी अदर पार्टी और एनी इंटरेस्टेड पार्टी टू अ केस, एंड इवन सीबीआई themselves may say that this case should not be transferred to us because the police who is already in charge of the matter, उन्होंने अपनी क्वेरी ढंग से कर ली है. वही मेरे केस में भी हुआ था. सीबीआई ने भी जब अपनी रिपोर्ट सुप्रीम कोर्ट में दी, उन्होंने बोला कि दिल्ली पुलिस ने सब एकदम सही किया है, वी डोंट डीम इट फिट कि दिल्ली पुलिस का अभी हमें इन्वेस्टिगेशन हैंड ओवर हो. तो जैसे मैंने आपको पहले बताया, ये चीज समझ लीजिए कि सीबीआई भी जो बनी है वो पुलिस और आप और मेरे जैसे लोगों से बनी है. सिर्फ सीबीआई नाम लगाने से ऐसा नहीं होता कि वो हवा में उड़ने लग जाते हैं. वो पैदल ही चल के 4 चक्के की गाड़ी में जाके इन्वेस्टिगेशन करते हैं जनाब, जैसे लोकल पुलिस करती है. सीबीआई नाम लगने से ऐसा नहीं कि उनको फाइटर जेट मिल जाते हैं. ये चीज समझने की जरूरत है आपको.
All right, sir. Understood. Great answer. All right.
अनन्या नारायण सिंह, आप अपना सवाल पूछ सकते हैं.
Good evening, sir.
जी सर, गुड इवनिंग.
As what we have seen recently with Vikas Dubey's case. Hello, am I audible?
हाँ जी सर, सुनाई दे रहा है, बताएं.
हाँ जी sir, as what we have seen recently with Vikas Dubey's case, that he was charged with doing a heinous crime of killing 8 police personnel. So following his encounter, my question is that who for finding the legitimacy of doing such encounters, And to what extent does the police administration tolerates a criminal before chasing him down for an encounter?
से जहाँ तक टॉलरेट करने की बात है, वो तो देखिए 20 साल से टॉलरेट कर रहे थे उनको, और ये बड़ी हैरानी की बात है कि 20 साल से एक कुख्यात अपराधी आपकी नाक के नीचे अपराध पे अपराध किए जा रहा है और आप पुलिस होके कुछ नहीं कर पा रहे, तो ये बड़ी अचंभे की बात हो जाती है ना।
पॉलिटिकल सपोर्ट भी तो हो सकता है
सर बिजनेस सपोर्ट हो सकता है, पॉलिटिकल सपोर्ट हो सकता है, कुछ भी सपोर्ट ना हो, ये कहना बड़ा मुश्किल है, क्योंकि ये बातें समटाइम्स इफ इट्स नॉट अ फैक्ट इट बिकम्स अ फिक्शन। और अखबारों में खबरों के अलावा कहानियां भी छापी जाती हैं और कहानियां कई हद तक काल्पनिक भी हो सकती हैं। तो जब तक हमारे पास ठोस सबूत ना हो, देखिए अगर आप लॉ स्टूडेंट हैं और कल वकील बनेंगे, तो कानून हमेशा सबूत और गवाहों को मद्देनजर रखते चीजों को डिसाइड करता है, ये चीजें आपको पता होनी चाहिए। और जब तक सबूत और गवाह नहीं होंगे तो मैं सिर्फ अखबार की खबर पे आपको कुछ जवाब दूंगी ठीक नहीं है, क्योंकि मैं अपनी नैतिक जिम्मेदारी फिर आपकी तरफ पूरी नहीं कर रहा। तो मैं जो आपसे ही कहना चाह रहा हूँ कि जब 20 साल से एक कुख्यात अपराधी लगातार अपराध करता है, उसी जिले में अपराध करता है या उसी क्षेत्र में अपराध करता है, तो पूरा का जो पूरा पुलिस महकमा है, जिसमें एक अपराधी से ज्यादा पुलिस की सेना के बल के लोग कार्यरत हैं और कार्य करते हैं और सेवा करते हैं इस देश की, तो उसकी अरेस्टिंग या उसके अगेंस्ट कोई पुख्ता सबूत क्यों नहीं जमा पाते? अगर 60 मुकदमे चल रहे हैं, तो क्या 60 के 60 मुकदमे इतने पैदल हैं कि उनमें से एक में उसको सजा नहीं मिल सकती है, उसको जेल में डाला जाता है? ये तो आज है 2020 में, जब मीडिया इतनी सक्रिय है और हम सब इतने सचेत हैं कि हम हर खबर को डाइसेक्ट करते हैं, उसकी हेयर स्प्लिटिंग कर लेते हैं और देखते हैं। और आप ये सोचिए कि तो एक ब्लेसिंग इन डिस्गाइज है हम लोगों के लिए, पर 20 ये जवाब पुलिस को देना चाहिए कि 20 साल से ये लोग क्या सो रहे थे, कि 20 साल से एक केस का निर्णय क्यों नहीं लिया गया, 20 साल से एक प्रॉपर इन्वेस्टिगेशन क्यों नहीं गई? एनकाउंटर तो आज उन 20 सालों का नतीजा है ना, इट्स अ कल्मिनेशन ऑफ सो मेनी थिंग्स। कहते हैं ना, जब हिंदी में कहा जाए पाप का घड़ा भरता है तो फूट जाता है। तो 20 साल से कर क्या रहा था शासन और प्रशासन और पुलिस, कर क्या रही थी? आपको ये सवाल पूछना चाहिए, ये ज्यादा वाजिब सवाल।
ओके, थैंक यू
सर मेरा एक सवाल है।
ईशा चौहान
जी, मॉडरेटर साहब से ये रिक्वेस्ट है कि मॉडरेटर साहब को आप अपना हाथ खड़ा कर दीजिए, फिर वो आपको एक एक करके माइक थमाते रहेंगे, उनको आप इंटरजेक्ट ना करें, मेरी आप सबसे गुजारिश है।
जी जी बिल्कुल। ईशा चौहान, मिस ईशा चौहान।
Good evening, sir. Yes, good evening, sir. Sir, my question was that in the past few years, we've seen many cases of police brutality. Like one of the example that could be given would be of George Floyd case. So, what, as per you, should the physical restraint techniques that are used and the psychiatric settings that are used, they need to be recorded? Like, I am asking as per your perspective, that should they be recorded?
When you say recorded, you mean recorded at the time of arrest or apprehension of a person, or recorded in general?
In general, sir.
देखिए, दो तीन चीजें हैं। यूएस में तो कंपल्सरी है। नॉर्मली जब भी पुलिस किसी को कहती है कि आप अपनी गाड़ी से बाहर निकलिए, हैंड्स अप कीजिए, आप उनके कागज दिखाइए, तो उनके पास हमेशा एक वीडियो कैमरा उनकी एक पॉकेट में होता है। और जब पुलिस को किसी अक्यूज को अरेस्ट करके पुलिस थाने ले जाते हैं, तो वहां पे भी कैमरे में प्रोसीडिंग चल रही होती है। यूके में भी होता है, यूएस में भी होता है, इंडिया में ही नहीं होता, क्योंकि हम लोग थोड़ा ना पारदर्शिता से थोड़ा सा दूर भागते हैं। हमें लगता है कि काफी सच जो है 4 दीवारों के कमरों में बाहर निकल के आ जाएंगे। तो जब तक हम रिजल्ट ओरिएंटेड अप्रोच नहीं रखेंगे, तो चीजें मुझे लगता नहीं मैडम सुधरेंगी इस देश में, वो चाहे पुलिस ब्रुटैलिटी को लेके हो या एक नॉर्मल पुलिस इन्वेस्टिगेशन को लेके हो। ट्रांसपेरेंसी हर चीज में जरूरी है, वो चाहे हमारी जुडिशरी हो, वो चाहे पुलिसिंग हो। मैं तो कहता हूँ हर जगह वीसी लगे, हर जगह सीसीटीवी हो, हर जगह लोगों को चीजें दिखे, लाइव हियरिंग्स हो, ताकि लोगों को पता लग सके। उससे हमें डरने की जरूरत नहीं है, क्योंकि एक तरीके से डेटा जो है, जो राइट डेटा या जो रॉन्ग, व्हाटएवर डेटा इट विल गो टू द पब्लिक एंड पब्लिक देन इटसेल्फ कैन डिसाइड कि सिस्टम में चल क्या रहा है। ये जानना तो ठीक होना चाहिए।
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
कार्तिकेय जी, अब आप अपना क्वेश्चन पूछ सकते हैं। कार्तिकेय सिंह
जी सर, मेरा सवाल ये है कि अक्सर हम लोग ऐसा देखते हैं कि अगर कोई आतंकवादी या फिर कोई अपराधी जब मरता है तो ह्यूमन राइट्स वालों का होता है, ह्यूमन राइट्स वाले जग जाते हैं
जी।
कोई और ऐसे पुलिस वाले मरते हैं या फिर ऐसे कोई, उसमें हम लोग बहुत सुनते नहीं है, मतलब मुझे नहीं पता है, मैं सुनना नहीं हूँ या देखा नहीं हूँ, तो ऐसा नहीं होता उनमें ह्यूमन राइट्स वाले सवाल उठे थे?
देखिए, ऐसी बात नहीं है। जब भी कोई देश के कार्य में शहीद होता है या अपनी जान निछावर करता है अपने उसमें कार्य में, तो लोगों को बुरा तो लगता है। देखिए मैं नहीं समझता, जैसे विकास दुबे का आप एग्जाम्पल लीजिए, अगर 8 पुलिस वाले शहीद हुए या मारे गए इस केस में, तो मुझे नहीं लगता कि किसी को खुशी हुई होगी। ये बहुत ही बुरी बात है कि 8 पुलिस वाले को ऐसे बेमौत मारा गया। जब मारा गया तो पुलिस महकमा भी हरकत में आया। उन्होंने देखा कि भाई ऐसा क्या हुआ, या कोई मोल था हमारे डिपार्टमेंट में, या कोई खबरी था जिसने एक खबर दी उस अपराधी को कि भाई 8 पुलिस वाले छापा मारने आ रहे हैं। तो ये सारी चीजें बहुत हमें सोचनी चाहिए कि सिर्फ, ठीक है, ह्यूमन राइट्स वाले, ये मैं शायद आपकी बात पे कुछ हद तक सहमत हूँ कि सिर्फ इस चीज पे जब अपराधी मरे तब हल्ला मत मचाइए। कोई भी इंसान जो किसी की गलती से मरता है उस बात पे आपको अपनी आवाज उठानी चाहिए। पर ह्यूमन राइट्स का मैं आपको एक फ्लिप आर्ग्यूमेंट देता हूँ। फ्लिप आर्ग्यूमेंट ये है कि देखिए जो पुलिस महकमा है, पुलिस के पास अपनी पावर है, तो जब वो ऑफिशियल ड्यूटी में अपनी पावर डिस्चार्ज करने के लिए जाते हैं तो उनके पास उनकी बंदूकें भी होती हैं, उनकी लाठियां भी होती हैं, उनके पास उनका बल, थल, सेना बल सब कुछ होता है। पर जब एक सिविलियन होता है, और मैं इस वक्त आतंकवादी की बात नहीं कर रहा, मैं एक सिविलियन की बात कर रहा हूँ, जैसे अगर मैं आपको जयराज फिनिक्स से एग्जाम्पल लेके चलूँ, तो 2 बाप बेटे जो अपनी फोन की दुकान चला रहे हैं, वो पुलिस को, वो जो अगर वो उनके सामने 5 पुलिस वाले आगे खड़े हो जाएंगे तो कौन ज्यादा हावी होगा आप समझ सकते हैं। पर जहाँ पे मैं समझता हूँ किसी टेररिस्ट की बात होती है या किसी और की बात होती है, हम लोग को ये समझना जरूरी है कि पुलिस जब भी कोई केस बनाती है और मीडिया उसको, उस आग को जो अपने खबरों से फैलाती है, तो हमारे दिमाग में एक जहन, एक पिक्चर बन जाती है कि ये आदमी अपराधी है या ये आदमी आतंकवादी है, और जो कोर्ट की पूरी प्रक्रिया है उसको भूल जाते हैं कि अपराध जो है अपराधी का, जब तक कोर्ट उसको डिसाइड नहीं करेगा तो है ना, अपराधी को सिर्फ आप कहते हैं अक्यूज मानिए, कन्विक्ट मत मानिए, है ना, वो अभियुक्त हुआ, वो अपराधी नहीं हुआ। तो ये हमें समझना बहुत जरूरी है, अभियुक्त और एक अपराधी में क्या फर्क है। तो वैसे ही जब हम आतंकवादी कहते हैं, तो अगर मान लीजिए पुलिस ने उस समय कोई सीसीटीवी फुटेज थी जहाँ पे उस बंदे के सीसीटीवी फुटेज है, तो कहना कि हाँ भाई वो अपराधी है, वो है, एक टर्म आपने कॉइन कर दिया। मैं ऐसा नहीं कहता कि दुनिया में टेररिज्म नहीं है, एकदम है, दुनिया में अपराध भी है, पर ह्यूमन राइट कमीशन वालों को ये समझना चाहिए कि असल में अपराधी कौन है। क्या सिर्फ पुलिस अपराधी है, या जो दूसरा टेररिस्ट बन के, क्रिमिनल बन के किसी की राइट्स को वॉलेट करता है, वो भी इतना ही बड़ा अपराधी है। तो ये फर्क समझना, अंतर जानना बहुत जरूरी है सबके लिए।
जी सर, थैंक यू सर।
Aparna Agarwal, please put your question forward, and please try to be specific because we are now running out of time.
Okay, sure. Hello. Good evening, sir. Sir, I am Aparna, and like we are talking about the misuse of power by the police. So, like recently, I started studying on pothole accidents and pothole deaths. And in many cases, like while doing my research, I found that the police has been misinterpreting the pothole accidents into like hit and run or rash driving cases. So what is your like, and even like I am searching and I'm researching, so what comes to the picture is that the government is responsible for the maintenance of the road and the infrastructure, but they are denying their accountability, their responsibility for such accidents, that no, we are not responsible. And even if they are, that in cases of deaths, the maximum compensation is up to ₹2 lakhs. And I am in contact with one of the victims, Mr. Manoj Badwa, whose son died in one of these accidents in 2014. So my question is that is there a joint liability on the police? Like, why doesn't the police file a criminal offense report and files it as some other thing?
मैडम, लेट मी आंसर दिस इन 2 पार्ट्स। पहला आपने सवाल किया कि पॉट होल्स हैं या रोड की मेंटेनेंस नहीं है, उसके चलते किसी की डेथ हो जाती है। इसमें आई थिंक द लिटिगेंट हु इज डूइंग द केस, उसको थोड़ा सा अपने कानूनी हक के बारे में पता होना चाहिए। कई मरतबा ऐसा होता है कि पॉट होल्स हैं रोड में, सड़क में गड्ढे हैं, या इनफ लाइटिंग नहीं है और किसी को टक्कर लगी हो, वो मर गया। और जब इंसान की रोड डेथ होती है तो सबसे पहले आप पुलिस को इन्फॉर्म करते हैं, पुलिस आके हरकत में आती है। तो उसमें फिर ये डिपेंड करता है कि असल फॉल्ट किसका है, कि पुलिस का काम इन्वेस्टिगेशन का है, रोड मेंटेनेंस का काम है आपका पीडब्ल्यूडी, सीपीडब्ल्यूडी का। तो इस बात को समझना जरूरी है। क्या एक आपका जो विभाग है सरकार का, वो अपने ऊपर जिम्मेदारी लेगा? पहली बात तो है कि नहीं लेता, तो इसलिए आप हमको कोर्ट जाना पड़ता है कि भाई अगर ये रोड मेंटेन नहीं थी तो किसको लास्ट मेंटेन कब किया गया, इसकी जिम्मेदारी कितनी थी। और अगर वाकई में हिट एंड रन है तो जो अक्यूज है, जो कल्प्रिट है, जिसने वहां पे एक्सीडेंट किया, उनका पता लगा जाए। क्योंकि ऐसे बहुत हादसे होते हैं, या तो पॉटहोल से हो सकता है वो कि एक्सीडेंट हुआ हो, या हो सकता है कोई गाड़ी स्किड कर गई हो, या हो सकता है बंदा खुद इंटॉक्सिकेटेड हो, या एक चीज ये भी सकती है कि पीछे से किसी ने हिट किया हो, द पर्सन मे हैव लॉस्ट हिज बैलेंस और उनकी डेथ हो गई और वो दूसरा गाड़ी वाला वहां से भाग गया। तो बहुत सारे इसमें परम्यूटेशन कॉम्बिनेशन होते हैं, इसमें डिपेंड करता है आपकी एक्चुअल फैक्ट्स क्या है, नरेशन ऑफ फैक्ट्स क्या है। और एंड व्हेन द पुलिस इज लुकिंग इनटू इन्वेस्टिगेशन, आपका एमएसीटी कोड तो देता ही है अंडर इंश्योरेंस जो कॉम्पनसेशन होती है। उसके अलावा अगर आपको लगता है कि डिपार्टमेंटल नेग्लिजेंस थी तो उस पर आप उनको चाहे कंज्यूमर कोर्ट ले जाइए या आप उनको हाई कोर्ट में खींचिए कि भाई इनकी जिम्मेदारी इन्होंने क्यों नहीं की, ताकि आप अपने फैक्ट्स को थ्रू अ हाई कोर्ट ऑर्डर असर्टेन करवा सकें।
So one counter question to this, like while reading some news reports, I came across one article in which a police officer from Mumbai, like she put forward an opinion that if there are accidents due to potholes, they should be booked under criminal offences, right? And in Mr. Vadva's case, as far as I've read their file, their case was being dismissed again and again because they are not going for compensation, rather they are going for criminal liability for such an accident. So but like it took years for them to reach to this point so that an actual court would listen to them that this was an accident because of an pothole, and the authorities have been denying that no, there was no pothole on that highway. So what is your say in that case? Like there was an actual pothole, there have been proofs, but the authorities are consistently denying that there was actually no pothole on that road.
उन्होंने फिल करा दिया होगा मैडम नेक्स्ट डे पर। अगर आपके क्लाइंट के पास उसकी पिक्चर्स हैं या कोई वीडियोग्राफी है, दैट वुड हेल्प, नंबर 1। नंबर 2, you have to put an argument that it will stand on the same pedestal as dealing with the matter when a bridge collapses or a flyover crumbles, या कोई बिल्डिंग कोलैप्स कर जाती है तो उसमें भी जो जिसकी इवेंचुअल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी होती है उसको रिस्पॉन्सिबल हम ठहराते हैं। एंड इन दिस केस अगर आपको लगता है कि कोई सरकारी इसमें प्रशासन की जिम्मेदारी है, डिपेंडिंग विच स्टेट यू आर फ्रॉम और विच सिटी यू आर फ्रॉम, तो उस प्रशासन को आप पार्टी बना के आप कोर्ट में ट्रैक कर सकते हैं।
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So due to the time restraint, we are taking one last question by Mr. Devakar Singh.
जी
Mr. Devakar Singh, are you there? Yeah, sir, he's online, so he would be speaking. Mr. Devakar Singh, you're not audible. You have unmuted yourself, but you're not audible. You've muted yourself again. So, sir, keeping the time restraint in consideration, मैं बस एक आपसे एक ऐसा कंक्लूसिव सवाल पूछना चाहूँगा कि जैसे जब हैदराबाद में एनकाउंटर हुआ था 4 रेपिस्ट का, तब जो हमारी सोसाइटी थी और जो लोग थे वो काफी मतलब उसको अप्रिशिएट कर रहे थे, कह रहे थे कि पुलिस ने काफी अच्छा काम करा है, ऐसा इन लोगों के साथ होना चाहिए था। और मतलब ऐसा क्योंकि शायद उससे पहले जो निर्भया का केस था उसमें जब जजमेंट में इतना डिले हुआ तो लोगों को लगा कि जुडिशरी अब मतलब लोगों का जुडिशरी के ऊपर से विश्वास उठ चुका था इस एनकाउंटर को देखने के बाद कि जुडिशरी कुछ नहीं कर सकता और पुलिस को ऐसा करना चाहिए। और जब विकास दुबे का एनकाउंटर हुआ तो काफी लोग इस ओपिनियन में थे कि जब विकास दुबे वो कर रहा है सरेंडर तो फिर रूल ऑफ लॉ कहाँ गया? क्यों पुलिस ने एनकाउंटर करा जब एक बंदा खुद सामने से सरेंडर कर रहा है? और विकास दुबे ने शायद सरेंडर भी इसीलिए करा था क्योंकि उसको मालूम था कि अगर वो कहीं और पकड़ा गया तो उसका एनकाउंटर हो जाएगा।
जी
तो मतलब 2 अलग अलग ओपिनियंस है लोगों की, 2 अलग अलग एनकाउंटर्स को लेके, तो क्या सही में लोगों का विश्वास उठ रहा है जुडिशरी से और क्या जुडिशरी उतनी केपेबल नहीं है जैसा लोग सोच रहे हैं, या लोगों का ओपिनियन इस चीज पे लेके थोड़ा गलत है? क्योंकि ऑब्वियसली जो क्रिमिनल है उसके पास भी राइट टू डिफेंस है, इसीलिए उन लोग को एडवोकेट भी प्रोवाइड किया जाता है और वो अपना बेसिकली रूल ऑफ नेचुरल जस्टिस भी यहाँ पे अप्लाई हो सकता है क्योंकि बोथ पार्टी शुड बी हर्ड प्रॉपर्ली। सो इज इट feasible to say that people are losing interest, losing their hope from judiciary, and is judiciary not working properly?
देखिए मदारी और बंदर का जो खेल होता है ना, वही खेल होता है मीडिया का और पब्लिक का। मीडिया जो दिखाती है पब्लिक उसको मान लेती है क्योंकि पब्लिक की जो अपनी एक्सेस है चीजों को लेके बहुत लिमिटेड है। जो पब्लिक परसेप्शन बनाती है वो या तो ट्विटर के थ्रू बनाती है, सोशल मीडिया के थ्रू बनाती है, मीडिया के थ्रू देखती है, क्योंकि पर्सनली तो कोई जाके उस जगह को देखेगा नहीं जहाँ पे विकास दुबे को मारा गया था, पहली बात। दूसरा, एक डेटा आप लोग करवाइए, कहीं से सर्वे कराइए, क्योंकि मुझे लगता नहीं इस डेटा को कहीं पे रखा गया है कि जुडिशरी में कितनी पेंडेंसी है और पुलिस स्टेशन में कितनी पेंडेंसी है कंप्लेंट्स की। तो वो आपको एक क्लियर पिक्चर दिखाएगा कि ज्यादा इनएक्टिव कौन है, कि पुलिस ज्यादा इनएक्टिव है, जुडिशरी ज्यादा इनएक्टिव है। क्योंकि लोगों का ये कहना है कि जुडिशरी कुछ काम नहीं करती और एक विकास दुबे को मार के सही किया। ये वही लोग हैं जो कल रोएंगे जब इनकी कंप्लेंट या रिपोर्ट को दर्ज नहीं किया जाएगा, थाने में उनको जूते मार के वहां से भगाया जाता है। तो ये कहना बड़ा आसान हो जाता है कि देखो कोर्ट तो कुछ नहीं करा, फिर ही जाएंगे किसी वकील के पास और बोलेंगे सर पुलिस ने हमारी रिपोर्ट की नहीं, अब आप हमारी मदद कीजिए। तो डेटा आप इसमें ला के दीजिए मुझे, डेटा का एक सर्वे आप कराइए। आप लोग तो यूथ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, कि ज्यादा पेंडेंसी कोर्ट में है या ज्यादा पेंडेंसी हमारी पुलिस थानों में उन कंप्लेंट्स की जिसको रद्दी भर भर के लोग रख देते किनारे और काम नहीं करते कभी उस पर। तो इस चीज का अगर जब तक आंसर जनता के सामने नहीं आएगा तो जनता को पता चलेगा ही नहीं उनको घुमाया कहाँ जाना है।
राइट सर, क्योंकि आजकल मतलब सोशल मीडिया पे जो देख रहे हैं लोग अपने आप ही मतलब सब जजमेंट दे रहे हैं सारे लोग सोशल मीडिया पे कि हाँ ये सही है, हाँ वो सही है। तो मतलब आई सीन लॉ स्टूडेंट्स ऑल्सो हु आर सपोर्टिंग द एनकाउंटर्स बाय पुलिस, जैसे विकास दुबे का एनकाउंटर हुआ, लॉ स्टूडेंट्स भी सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं कि हाँ ऐसा होना चाहिए था। मतलब अगर जो फ्यूचर लॉयर्स हैं अगर वही होप खो दे रहे हैं अपने प्रोफेशन में, तो फिर वो आगे जाके क्या करेंगे, मतलब कैसे चलेगा काम, वही वाली बात।
तो देखिए दुनिया बहुत लोगों से बनती है। एक लॉ स्टूडेंट वो है जो हो सकता है कि द प्रैक्टिस या बॉस्टन लीगल देख के आगे बढ़ रहा है, एक लॉ स्टूडेंट वो है जो सिंघम या जोरी एलएलबी देख के आगे बढ़ रहा है, जिसको उसी में मजा आता है। तो वो भी तो इंसान है ना। तो अब वो उसको डिसाइड करना है, वो निर्णय उस छात्र का है कि उसको बनना क्या, उसको जोरी एलएलबी बनना है या उसको कायदे का वकील बनना है, तो वो तो उसकी मर्जी है। अब अगर वो यही सोचेगा कि भाई वकालत में कुछ रखा नहीं है और पुलिस ही सर्वोपरि है, तो कोई बात नहीं। पर ऐसे बहुत लोग हैं जो सोचते हैं कि वकील अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं, जो जानते हैं वकील अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं, और हम लोग करते भी, ऐसी बात नहीं है। पर इस चीज को आप लोग, यू आर द बेटन, यू नो यू आर द टॉर्च बेयरर्स ऑफ अ सोसाइटी। आप तो लोकल लॉयर बनेंगे सब लोग, तो आप लोगों की जिम्मेदारी मुझसे कहीं ज्यादा है इस चीज को उजागर करने की कि देखिए हम भी काम करते हैं। निर्णय आप बनाइए, आपको निर्णय बनाने में कोई मना नहीं कर रहा, पर निर्णय अगर आप सिर्फ मीडिया और सोशल मीडिया के आधार पे बनाएंगे तो मैं समझता हूँ कि लॉ की पढ़ाई छोड़ दीजिए, इंटर्नशिप मत कीजिए। क्योंकि आप सब अगर सोशल मीडिया यूट्यूब से सीख लेंगे तो फिर कोर्ट में आने की जरूरत नहीं है, फिर तो आप खुद ही आर्ग्यू करके खुद ही अपने आप को विजयी घोषित कर सकते हैं।
सही बात सर। थैंक यू सो मच सर फॉर योर वैल्यूएबल टाइम।
थैंक यू।
काफी नॉलेजेबल था, काफी लोगों ने सवाल उठाए, काफी अच्छे जवाब मिले। I guess everyone's satisfied with your session and it was a great session. Looking forward to more sessions with you because I am pretty sure everyone liked your session. It was very interactive also, unlike other webinars. Thank you so much sir for your valuable time.
थैंक यू उत्कर्ष। आरोप और प्रत्यारोप का दौर तो चलता ही रहता है, पर मुझे नहीं पता कि आपकी जनता कितनी खुश थी या कितनी नाराज थी मुझसे। जो खुश रहे हो वो भी आपको कमेंट दें, और जो नाराज रहे हो वो हमको टिप्पणी दें कि हम अपना सुधार कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि सुधार ही एक रास्ता है जिसके जरिए हम लोग आगे बढ़ सकते हैं।
बिल्कुल सर, सुधार का तो हर जगह अपॉर्चुनिटी है, हर कोई सुधर सकता है
जी।
थैंक यू सो मच सर।
थैंक यू सो मच। थैंक यू।
थैंक यू सर।